We talked was in April, and we made a little news. I was asking you to explain yield farming, and you did it in this way that sort of described a box that tokens came out of, and people put money into the box, and there was a sort of self-sustaining flywheel where people put more money into the box, the tokens were worth more, and they went up. And I used the Ponzi word in reaction to that, and you didn't exactly endorse that, but definitely the crypto market went down shortly after that conversation.
You're triggered by monetary policy, right? Like, to the extent that the world believed that there was going to be easy money forever, and all numbers would keep going up except for the value of the dollar.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And listening to Sam Bankman-Fried more and more, you see that this was all part of a bigger plan. FTX was the last big test before they flipped the switch on this new digital economy. Every commodity is going to be tokenized. The Forex is going to be tokenized. Real estate, the whole economy. And the robots, algorithms, and drones are going to replace humanity inside of the workforce. And who caused this? That's right, Sam Bankman-Fried said it out his own mouth. It was the Fed producing all that easy money. But we know the central banks had a plan behind it. They printed 20% of all money in existence, so therefore they could start building a fourth industrial revolution and destroying the dollar at the same time. So therefore America to Babylon falls along with the world reserve currency and the emerging markets rise. The new digital economy was birthed in the emerging markets off of America's technology. So you're going to see the rise of China the Dragon with the digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And FTX was the last test for the derivatives market. So the new world order can put this whole economy on blockchain. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the new world order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Talk sort of generally about how you make those decisions and like when someone's bad, like what's bad about them. When someone's like blown up but good enough to get an investment, like what were they doing right? Like give me a sense of what's going on there.
Totally. And taking a step back, like when we have to make the first decision, we don't yet know. Right. Sometimes which of those, like if you like called me up tomorrow night and you're like some very weird things happened and like I'm going to die if you don't wire me $2,000, right? Like I'd be like, okay, fine, let's deal with that, making sure you don't die, and then we can talk about what exactly happened to get us there. And like that,
except for Celsius.
Right. And maybe I'll tell a little bit about like the first conversation at high level that I had with I'll give a model conversation. This is how I would like the first conversation to go, and it reflected some but not all of our first conversations, which is we get on the phone and the other party says, hey, thanks for taking the call. We are sort of in trouble. It's a little ambiguous. Here's exactly where we are. Here's where our balance sheet is today. Here's our assets. Here's our liabilities. Here's the uncertainty in it, roughly speaking, ballpark. Here's where it's coming from. Pause for a second. And
I want you to continue, but I want a little bit more like when they say here are assets, here are liabilities, like which number is bigger?
Right. Yes. Well, I hear you. But
do they use numbers?
That's the first, right? The first test is not even which is bigger. The first test is, do I walk away from that first call feeling moderately confident that I know what the numbers are, whether or not they're good? Do I even know them, right? And like that was like sort of like the test for us to like consider doing like just some emergency thing while we figure out other things. One of the criteria was that we know what the numbers are, whether or not they're good. And some failed that test of like not just the numbers were bad, but like we literally came away confused. And like we had a second call.
And that's not like valuation.
That's like we think either they're not being transparent with us or they don't know their own business. Right. But one way or another, they like cannot tell us the number in this account. And like whatever, you mark these into, but we don't even know how many shares of that illiquid thing they have, right? Like it's just like there's nothing there. And of course no one knew how to mark 3 hours capital debt the day after this happened, right? Like, that was one of the big...
That's like a number you put on it.
Exactly, right. We would have accepted and this amount of debt with 3 arrows as part of this, right? So that's step one, is like, literally, do we know what is going on? And then step two is like, right, we do kind of the obvious thing if we compare the two sides of this ledger, right? And like, in the cases where it was most obvious to do something is when they are about equal, right? When the assets and the liabilities are like roughly the same number, and you can imagine someone saying, look, here's the outstanding uncertainties we have. It is plus or minus 20 million, depending on those uncertainties, right? That's the place where it's sort of like most obvious that we should act, because if we don't, they might be slightly underwater, and there are serious questions about, like, do they have to take drastic corporate action? But for like a relatively small, sort of like potential incineration of money, we can like resolve that problem and make them able to like continue operating and like carry on and not like cause contagion or customers losing assets or anything like that. So that sort of like is the best case. Okay, the best case is that I have tons of extra capital, but then why are they calling us? So okay, of the calls we might get, the best case is when they have about zero left, right? And they're like, look, we need a buffer here so we can like definitely pay salaries without dipping into customer funds, like, and we're like, that makes sense, right? And in those cases, like, what we would tend to do is like, okay,
Because otherwise they would.
well, depending on the company, right? Otherwise, maybe they would declare bankruptcy, or maybe they would dip into customer, whatever. There's a lot of unpleasant choices there, right? And so in that case, what we'd say is like, okay, first things first, let's just give you a line for something, I don't know, 50 million, whatever. Something that is like definitely bigger than the like plausible downside here. So you definitely have a surplus. And we'll make it junior to customer assets. And it's an amount of money where if we totally miss, and then we can talk about what's next.
To your statement, sir,
Statement.
I agree with your statement wholeheartedly. I am very concerned that the commission is unilaterally looking to make a proposal for a single asset class. And if, in fact, they do that, they would have to amend the application that is put forth already today by every legal mind in the world. And once that application is amended, it is open to all asset classes. So otherwise, it's deemed arbitrary, and the commission cannot be arbitrary. And Mr. Lucan knows this as well as anybody. So we would have no other choice, because this model, as I said earlier, is a cheap way around jurisdiction, and we would have to compete in it. Otherwise, I'm going to have either FTX or somebody else competing in the asset classes that I'm trying to provide liquidity and risk management for across the board. And that includes every single commodity known to man: wheat, corn, soybeans, right across the board, energy, natural gas, mortgages, foreign exchange, equity futures, everything.
Which affects my farmers in my district.
It will
And their
affect
ability to get
every
their
farmer,
farms.
because they will have to be up, as Mr. Edmonds said earlier in his testimony, at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, finding out that they just lost their hedge on their crop that they already have in the ground. Why? Because they got auto liquidated.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.